Welcome to Le Rendezvous. My name is Garance Doré and I'm a writer with so many stories to tell and ideas to share that I created this special moment to talk about all the things that are going on in our lives. So come, let's spend a moment together. Le Rendezvous is brought to you by Doré, the skincare line I co-created, wanting to bring more simplicity and efficacy to our lives. Check out the end of the episode for a special code just for you, the Rendezvous listeners. By now, you've probably heard of this weight loss shot. Maybe you've seen celebrities getting super skinny in a matter of a few months, or some of your friends have told you about it, or you've seen the thousands of threads on TikTok of people sharing their Ozempic experience, or maybe you've just read about it in the press. I, of course, am very interested about it for many reasons, which I'm going to share today. The weight loss shot is actually semaglutide. I don't even really know how you pronounce it, and today I'm not going to try to explain how it works because I'm definitely not a doctor. But semaglutide is the component, and some of the brands that are selling it are called Ozempic, Wegowy, and then you have a bunch of others, and probably many, many more are going to come out in the near future. It started by being prescribed for people with morbid obesity, diabetes, and what it does is that it suppresses your appetite to the point of basically not wanting to eat anything. So it's pretty obvious, if you don't eat, you're going to lose weight rather fast, which obviously made it very attractive to the greater public. What I'm going to share with you today is how I feel about it, and also relate to you the experiences that my friends who have tried it have shared with me. So it's a very personal approach. I don't know anything about the medical side, the side effects, all these things. You can definitely look them up and do your own research. The first thing that comes to mind is that the main subject is weight loss, isn't it? It's what women want today. It's very interesting, and I wanted to start with that because I feel like we're in an era where it's becoming a bit shameful to talk about the fact that we want to lose weight. After living in a time when Kate Moss and Daria were the ultimate icons of beauty, and where everybody wanted to be skinny and was completely fine talking about it, where magazines were telling you how to lose weight, it's become a bit more shameful today. And in some ways, I think it's good because we live in a society that's really trying to be more inclusive. We're seeing more models that are normal sizes, more curvy. I don't know how you say these things. Every subject about weight loss is becoming so loaded now, isn't it? But today, if you tell anyone that you want to lose weight, like, for example, I did over the winter, I got married and I wanted to look good in my dress, which is something that women have done for hundreds of years. And I didn't really talk about it. You're not supposed to now. You might be able to say that you just want to be healthier, which is often a way to hide that you are looking to lose weight. Or if you say very honestly, hey, I want to lose 5 kilos because I've gained weight over the last few years, people will be like, you don't need to lose weight. You're completely fine the way you are. You're absolutely beautiful. And if you put that online, it might create an absolute scandal. So people have found different ways to say it, but I don't think it has actually changed the fact that a lot of us are struggling with our nutrition, our weight, the image that we want to have and that we want to project. And I think it's interesting to see that after all this talk, in a moment when we think we have the most inclusive society we've ever had, when it could get you canceled to talk about somebody being fat or yourself being fat, that's when we have the most powerful weight loss drugs that comes on the market. And that, I think, is so defining of the society we live in today. It's two extremes, and it's also we're saying things and we're doing the absolute opposite. It's funny, and that's also why I always try to stay as honest as I possibly can without creating scandals, because that's the last thing I want. And then I've always talked about the fact that, yeah, I'm somebody who has always struggled with her weight, not on a huge scale. I've never been morbidly obese, but it's something that has made me suffer, that I've had to keep under control. This is also why when my friends tell me, oh, I want to lose weight, the last thing I tell them is you don't need to. Because I try to trust that most women that want to lose a little weight are actually healthy in their head, and all they want is that. It's not anorexia, it's not body dysmorphia, it's not some unhealthy relationship with their body, it's just what it is. And that might be also the reason why they feel okay confiding in me. And that's why I have all these experiences about Ozempic to share with you, which, by the way, of course, they agreed to share. I won't name any of them, but they were very willing to share because really they were eager to help others. But we do live in a society where you have to do these kind of things a little bit hidden. And so they just didn't want to be shamed. And I think that says a lot about a society that pushes us to hiding and to lying about things that are so important to us. I had started a diet in August of 2022. As you know, I'm 47, and as you now know, I've always struggled with keeping a good weight. And in the last few years, I had put on a really consequent amount of weight to the point that I was feeling uncomfortable in my body. I want to focus on Ozempic today, but I promise I'll do a whole episode about my weight loss. So I started that diet and it was working well, and I was losing weight very slowly with a ton of effort, and it wasn't easy, and that's the way it is always for everyone. And that's when my friends started telling me that they were trying Ozempic. In the beginning, I didn't even know what it was. And so, of course, I started doing some research because a part of me was very curious, a part of me was very attracted to it, and also a part of me was quite jealous because it was almost like I was running a marathon and I was going at a very slow pace and it was harrowing and I couldn't see the finish line. And suddenly I could see my friends running past me super quick and being like, hey, it's so easy, isn't it? And I was like, what is going on? Hey, stop here for a second. Come here. Tell me what's going on. What are you doing? And they would explain to me. In practicality, the way semaglutide works is that it's a self-injection. So you shoot yourself once a week. I think it's in the leg or in the lower back. And after 1 or 2 days, you start slowly losing your appetite. And by the description of my friends, you very quick have to start forcing yourself to eat. Because you don't have cravings anymore, it becomes easier to choose the healthier option. And every day you can see your weight dropping. Other things I've learned is that we don't yet know the side effects. The long-term ones, some might be pretty dramatic, and that the price is pretty steep and quite prohibitive actually. That is an overview of how it works. Now I'm going to share with you a few of the experiences of my friends and why in the end I chose not to do it. Let's start with this friend that I had that had been talking to me about how difficult it had been for her to lose weight. She had had a very early menopause, and after that she had piled on the pounds and she was very desperate about it. She had tried everything from fasting to super training to accepting herself the way she was, but nothing worked. She was just not feeling well in her body with the extra pounds, and she was really starting to become desperate. And I remember we talked about it and she said, should I do it? What do you think? And she reflected a little bit until one day she Googled it and she found a doctor online that was able to prescribe it to her. And she said, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to try it. So she did it. She was very excited. She did the first shot, and the first days, she did feel what people have described about these drugs. You feel nervous, you feel nauseated, you feel quite uncomfortable in your belly, and this lack of appetite basically comes at a price of full-on digestive discomfort. But of course, she was ready for that. She said, you know what, I'm going to try it a little bit and see if that's tolerable and lose as much as I can and try to re-educate my appetite and get on a healthy diet. And I think that's what most people who start this type of drugs want to do. She's someone that's super hardy, that's strong, that can tolerate a lot. She always told me, I can do these type of things. I'm really not so sensitive to medicine. What was interesting, though, is that very soon she told me about a feeling of depression, a sense of darkness. She shared with me that when she was injecting herself, she felt like she was injecting something terrible in her body, that she was hurting herself. She had a very dark experience with it. And she's a very down-to-earth person, but she felt a weird spiritual revulsion that for her, of course, the bodily discomfort was terrible. She experienced not only nausea, but after, I think, a week, incredible constipation moment when she couldn't go to the bathroom for more than 3 or 4 days, or times when she felt like she had to stay on the toilet for hours because nothing was happening and it was so terribly uncomfortable. But to her, the thing that made her stop, which she finally did one day, she called me and she said, I can't do that to myself. This is it. I'll have to find another way, a healthier way. I'm stopping this. What made her stop is really that spiritual feeling that she was doing something terrible to her body. My other friend, on the other side of the world, started taking semaglutide and absolutely loved every part of it. What she told me is that she felt zero discomfort, that she got used to it very quick. She lost 20 pounds. She told me that it fixed her PCOS because PCOS, she told me, is associated with weight gain. She's now skinnier than she's ever been. And she can't say enough good stuff about it. She stopped 2 months ago in December and she hasn't gained the weight back. And I think this is an absolute life changer for her. She has stalked on it. She swears by it. And it's interesting, I've known her for a very long time and her body image has always been one of her main issues. She's struggled with it for all her life. And so when I hear her telling me that she thinks this is a miracle, I'm truly happy for her that she's found this and a bit jealous even, because I'm still here trying to keep my weight under control. I have a third friend who tried it for about 2 months. And if she didn't have the same feeling as my first friend that literally felt depressive and like she was injecting herself with darkness, she did feel horrible side effects, terrible digestion, horrible bloating, revolting farting is what she told me. I'm just being very honest. I don't really love talking about these things, but I have to today because it's really part of the subject. She couldn't believe the nastiness of the whole thing. She was in agony over her constipation. And I think even more worrying were the palpitations that she was feeling. Her heart being so fast. She felt like she was having a heart attack. It freaked her out. And after losing 5 kilos, which I think is about 10 pounds, she stopped. She hasn't gained them back. but she won't go back on semaglutide. It was hurting her body too much. And in the end, she told me, above all those terrible digestive issues, what she felt was that she was getting away from her body rather than coming back to it. And that's the main reason why she decided to stop with semaglutide. She said that feeling so detached from her digestive system made her feel like a stranger to her own body, and that was the opposite of what she had been looking for in life, which is more embodiment. Those are a few of the experiences that I've heard about firsthand and that I've lived through with my friends. The reasons that I decided not to do it are many. Number one, if there's a way I can do things naturally, that will always be my choice. Number two, however difficult it was, my natural weight loss program was working. And I didn't feel desperate. It was slow and it was difficult, but it was happening. So I didn't feel like I had a real reason to take the plunge. The 3 friends that I've told you about all came from a place of being completely desperate about losing the weight they needed to lose. Not knowing what to do, trying everything and it not working. And I wasn't in that place. The third thing is that I have had an experience with self-injection when I was doing my IVF. And it was one of the darkest experiences of my life. I don't know why. I've talked with a lot of my friends who said it didn't bother them. But for me, shooting myself was so traumatic. And of course, the IVF didn't go well, and it was a dark time of my life, and there is so many things associated with that. I didn't stand the medicine really well, and that's probably a reason why I've always stayed away from any type of medicine. It's probably because I'm hypersensitive. Those IVF drugs did such a number on my mental health, on my body. I had suffered a lot from it. I remember when I was doing the shots during my IVF, I felt like a wounded animal. I was hiding to do them in the corner. And it's the same type of syringe that you use for the semaglutide as you do for the IVF meds. There was something really difficult. And I would have to prop myself so much to be able to do that again. I would have to coach myself. I would have to talk myself into doing it each time. Those are the reasons why I wouldn't do it. And also because my main problem with weight loss has never been losing the weight. It's been keeping it off. I can lose it and then it's almost like an imprint. I need to get back to a place where I'm uncomfortable in my body. That's what I know best. Being comfortable, being happy in my body, feeling energetic and light and fit is something that I don't identify with. So I will lose the weight and then gain it back. And that's what I'm trying to change in my life right now. So actually, the weight loss is not something that freaks me out the most. And with semaglutide, once you stop it, which you're supposed to do after a few months, because it's still a pretty potent med, you're back on your own. And if a lot of people are able to keep the weight off, I've heard that a lot of people gain everything back because you will find your appetite again and you won't have fixed anything emotionally. So if you're like me, you're struggling on a physical but also an emotional way in your body, semaglutide won't necessarily fix that. There is also the problem of people who don't have a healthy relationship with their body, who have mental health issues, body dysmorphia, anorexia. And now that semaglutide is becoming more and more easily available, we definitely should ask ourselves questions about the people who are more vulnerable. If someone is suffering from their relationship with their body and they haven't been able to find that path to themselves, what effects are these type of medicines going to have on their mental health, on their physical health? Those are the parts that I'm slightly worried about. I do think, though, that it's a wonderful tool to help people who have no other option. I know that we'll discover the side effects of it probably in a really long time. And I know, as everybody does, that any medicine has side effects. But if it can help people who have real trouble to re-educate themselves, to fix all the bigger problems that come with obesity, I think that's an absolute winner. I also think that we shouldn't judge what's important to others. I know, even if they won't say it, that for some of my friends, it's a very important thing to them. And if they're not able to fix that emotionally, psychologically, intellectually, and if they find something that makes them feel incredibly better, I really wouldn't be the one to judge. Even if the medicine makes them feel terribly nauseous and terribly constipated and terribly sick in their belly, if the endpoint makes them happy, I think why not? And that comes back to the relationship that we have with ourselves and with our bodies. My whole life journey has been about learning to have a dialogue with my body, listening to my soul, feeling my intuition, and finding my way to self-love. And not everybody has that. I think it's important today to be more honest about the things that matter to us and the fact that we can't always control and fix emotionally some things, and that sometimes we just have to fix them from the outside. For example, I've tried many times to accept myself with the 10, 15 extra kilos that really seem to want to become resident on my body, but I can't. It makes me unhappy. And that's why I think at the end of the day, we can't judge what people decide to put in their body. I don't like the shaming that's happening. I just don't like extremes. So now if you go on social media, there are the people that are relating all their journey with Ozempic, making it a trend. And that's extreme. And then you have the wellness websites that basically are shaming women who do that say that it's not natural. And I think those things are personal. It's a question of freedom. It's a question of how we feel in our body, in our intuition. The first friend that I told you about felt that it was dark and depressing and difficult. The other one got a lot of happiness and joy from it. And I think it comes down to oneself to make our own decision. And that's why I think the crucial point is to develop a personal, intimate, intuitive relationship with our body so that we can shut down the noise around us and check in on what we really need and not have to lie and not have to justify and not have to hide anything we do. Doesn't mean to put it out there for everyone to see, but to have a relationship that's intimate enough that we know what we need and respect others in their own journey, and to accept that we all have different cultures, different relationships, different traumas, and different ways that we feel in our bodies. And let people express that in a way that's freeing them instead of stifling them, so that they don't have to lie to us, because we accept them the same way we accept ourselves. The things we can change, the things we've tried but can never change, the things we've tried to fix but never were able to and that we've come to accept, the conditioning about how we want to look and how we want to feel. All these things should be personal and they're a journey. And I wish that today's episode helped you know a little bit more about what I think is a very important development in that whole world of weight loss. I think we're going to keep talking about this for years to come. And I hope that if you were thinking about it, wondering what to do, you feel a little bit more clear and a lot more free. Because that is what I wish for myself and for all of you. Have a great week. Sending you love. Le Rendezvous is brought to you by Doré. Doré's latest launch, La Micellaire, is a botanical micellar cleansing water that doesn't require rinsing. Minimize bathroom time and maximize outdoor time with our super simple routine. Use code podcast10 for 10% off your first order. Thank you for listening to Le Rendezvous. If you want to know more about me, find out about my newsletter and my community, find me on Instagram at Garance Doré or at my website at garance.world. And well, if you'd like to find out how to spell that crazy name, just check out the show notes. Until next time, sending you love.